I'd been sitting in the den for what felt like hours, watching the afternoon light fade through the plantation shutters, listening to the rhythmic tick of the grandfather clock my late wife Eleanor had loved so much. The house felt too big now, too quiet, too full of memories that had nowhere to go except around and around in my head. Before I go any further, I should introduce myself. My name is Theodore Blackwood, though most people call me Theo. I'm 71 years old, retired from a career in civil engineering that spanned 43 years. 6 months ago, my wife of 49 years passed away from complications of Alzheimer's. She was 68, too young, too cruel, and now I was learning what it meant to be truly alone. The tremor in my right hand had started about a year before Eleanor died. At first, I thought it was stress, grief, watching her slip away day by day. But after the funeral, it got worse. My neurologist, Dr. Patricia Holloway, diagnosed me with early-stage Parkinson's disease. The medication she prescribed seemed to help for a few months. The tremor was manageable. I could still drive, still take care of myself, still live in the house Eleanor and I had shared for 30 years. But lately, things had been getting worse. My son Marcus had noticed. Marcus was 49, worked in pharmaceutical sales, lived 20 minutes away in one of those modern condos downtown. We'd never been particularly close. He was always busy, always traveling for work, always had somewhere more important to be. But after Eleanor died, he started calling more often, started visiting, started expressing concern about me living alone in this big house with my condition. "Dad, you need help," he'd say, standing in my kitchen with his expensive suit and his concerned expression that never quite reached his eyes. "You can't manage this place by yourself. What if you fall? What if something happens?" I'd tell him I was fine. I had neighbors. I had friends from my engineering firm who checked in. I had Mrs. Chen next door who brought me soup every Tuesday. But Marcus insisted. "I found someone," he said 3 weeks ago, "a professional caregiver. Her name is Sofia Ramirez. She's got excellent credentials, years of experience with Parkinson's patients. She can move into the guest room, help with meals, medications, appointments. I'll pay for it, Dad. I want you to be safe." I didn't want a stranger living in my house. I didn't want to admit I needed that level of care. But the tremor had gotten worse. Some mornings I struggled to button my shirt, and Marcus seemed so insistent, so genuinely worried, that I finally agreed. Sophia moved in 2 weeks ago. She was 37, friendly enough, efficient. She took over the guest bedroom that used to be Marcus's room when he was a teenager. She organized my medications into those weekly pill boxes with the days of the week labeled. She cooked meals that were, I had to admit, better than my own attempts. She drove me to appointments because my neurologist had suggested I limit my driving. But something felt off. The tremor wasn't getting better. In fact, it seemed to be getting worse. I'd wake up in the middle of the night with my hand shaking so badly it woke me from sleep. My balance felt more uncertain. I'd stumble in the hallway, forget where I'd put my keys. One morning I couldn't remember if I'd already taken my morning pills, so Sophia gave me another dose just to be safe. Marcus visited twice a week now, which was more than he'd visited in the previous 5 years combined. He'd sit with me in the living room while Sophia made dinner in the kitchen, and he'd ask how I was feeling, had I thought any more about his suggestion of a nice assisted living facility, had I considered what we were going to do about this big house that was clearly too much for me to maintain. "I'm not selling the house," I'd tell him. "Your mother loved this house." "Mom's gone, Dad," he'd say, and his voice would get that edge to it, "and you're not getting any better. We need to be realistic. We need to plan for your future care." 3 days ago, I had my regular appointment with Dr. Holloway. Sophia drove me in Eleanor's old Subaru that I couldn't seem to drive anymore without feeling dizzy and confused. The appointment was routine. Blood pressure check, reflex tests, the usual questions about symptoms and medication effects. But at the end of the appointment, as I was standing up to leave, Dr. Holloway did something unusual. She put her hand on my arm and said, "Mr. Blackwood, can you wait in the hallway for just one moment? I need Sophia to sign some paperwork." I stepped into the hallway, confused. What paperwork? Sophia wasn't my legal guardian or anything. I stood there, watching nurses walk past, patients checking in at the desk, trying to steady my trembling right hand by gripping my left wrist. Then Dr. Holloway's door opened. But instead of calling me back in, she stepped into the hallway and walked past me toward the bathroom, not looking at me. As she passed, she pressed something into my good hand. A piece of paper, folded small. I waited until Sophia came out, chatting about needing to stop at the pharmacy. In the car, while she was driving, I carefully unfolded the note in my lap, keeping it below her line of sight. The note was in Dr. Holloway's handwriting. I recognized it from years of prescriptions. Don't take any medicine from that caregiver. These aren't the prescriptions I gave you. Come to my office alone tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Don't tell anyone. Your son is doing something very wrong. My heart stopped, then started again, pounding so hard I thought Sophia must hear it in the quiet car. I folded the note carefully and slipped it into my jacket pocket, my hand trembling worse than it had in weeks. The rest of the drive home I said nothing. Sophia chatted about stopping at the grocery store. Did I want chicken or fish for dinner? The weather was getting colder. Maybe we should turn on the heat? I nodded, said things like, sure, and that's fine, while my mind raced. My son. Your son is doing something very wrong. What did that mean? What was Marcus doing? And why would Sophia be involved? That evening I watched Sophia prepare my medications. She did it the same way she'd done it every evening for 2 weeks. The weekly pill organizer sat on the kitchen counter. She'd open the little compartment for Monday evening, shake out 3 pills into my hand, give me a glass of water, watch me swallow them. But tonight I looked at those pills differently. They were different colors than I remembered from before Sophia came. One was blue. I didn't remember having a blue pill before. One was a capsule, red and white. I'd never had capsules before, had I? My memory felt so foggy lately, I couldn't be sure. Here you go, Mr. Blackwood, Sophia said with her professional smile. I took the pills in my palm, looked at them, then looked up at her. What are these again? Your Parkinson's medication. Same as always. Dr. Holloway's prescriptions. Right, I said, and then I did something I hadn't planned. I pretended to take them. I put them to my mouth, took the water, tilted my head back, but I tucked the pills into my cheek, between my gum and cheek, like I'd seen kids do in movies when they didn't want to take medicine. I swallowed the water, said thank you, and went to my bedroom. In my bedroom, I locked the door, something I'd never done before. I spit the 3 pills into my hand and looked at them under my bedside lamp. Blue, red and white capsule, small yellow tablet. I didn't recognize any of them. I took an envelope from my desk drawer and put the pills inside. Tomorrow morning at 8, I'd show them to Dr. Holloway. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, listening to the house settle, wondering what was happening to me. If Marcus was involved, if Sophia was involved, then what was the plan? What were they doing? Around 3 in the morning it hit me. The house. This house was worth close to $1 million. Eleanor and I had bought it for $180,000 in 1994, but the neighborhood had changed. Developers wanted these old properties, and I'd told Marcus multiple times that I'd never sell it, that I'd leave it to him in my will, but I wasn't going anywhere while I was still alive and capable. But what if I wasn't capable? What if I got so confused, so disabled, that Marcus could get power of attorney? He'd mentioned it last week, casually, over dinner. Dad, we should really update your legal documents. Get a durable power of attorney in place in case you ever can't make decisions for yourself. I'd said no. I'd said I was fine. My mind was clear. I didn't need that yet. But if I kept getting worse, kept getting more confused, more disabled, more dependent, eventually I wouldn't have a choice. And then Marcus could do whatever he wanted. Put me in a nursing home, sell the house, control everything. The medication. They were giving me the wrong medication. Maybe giving me things that made me worse instead of better. Made me confused, made me unstable, made me look like I couldn't take care of myself. I got out of bed at 6 in the morning. Sophia wasn't up yet. I heard her alarm go off at 6:30 every morning. I had time. I went to the kitchen, moving as quietly as I could. The weekly pill organizer sat on the counter where Sophia always kept it. I opened each compartment for the current week, took out 1 pill from each, and put them in separate small plastic bags I found in the drawer. the kind Eleanor used to use for packing jewelry when we traveled. I labeled each bag with the day and time using a marker. Evidence. Then I got dressed, left a note on the kitchen table saying I couldn't sleep and had gone for an early walk, and I left the house. I walked 3 blocks to the main road and called an Uber on my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it, but I managed. The driver arrived 10 minutes later. Medical building on Oak Street, I told him. Dr. Holloway's office didn't officially open until 8:30, but she'd told me to come at 8. When I got there at 7:45, the building was mostly dark, but I could see lights on in her office on the 2nd floor. I tried the front door. Locked. I knocked. Waited. Knocked again. Then I heard footsteps, and Dr. Holloway opened the door herself. She looked worried. "Mr. Blackwood, come in quickly." She led me up to her office, locked the door behind us, and gestured for me to sit in the patient chair. She sat in her desk chair, leaning forward, her expression grave. "I need you to understand something," she said. "What I'm about to tell you could cost me my license if I've made a mistake, but I can't let this continue." I pulled out the envelope with last night's pills, and the plastic bags with the pills from my weekly organizer. I set them on her desk. "These are what Sophia's been giving me. She says they're from you." Dr. Holloway opened the bags, examined each pill. Her face went pale. She turned to her computer, pulled up something, then opened her desk drawer and pulled out a reference book for medication identification. 5 minutes later, she looked up at me. "Mr. Blackwood, Theo, I'm so sorry. None of these are what I prescribed for you." "What are they?" "This blue one is haloperidol. It's an antipsychotic, often used for severe mental illness or sometimes for dementia patients with severe agitation. This red and white capsule is promethazine, an antihistamine that causes drowsiness and confusion. This yellow one is Xanax, an anti-anxiety medication that can cause memory problems and disorientation, especially at high doses." The room spun. I gripped the arms of the chair. "But why? Why would Sophia give me these?" "I don't think Sophia is acting alone," Dr. Holloway said quietly. "Your son Marcus came to see me 4 weeks ago. He said he was concerned about your decline, that you were having hallucinations, that you'd become paranoid and aggressive. He said he wanted to discuss your treatment options. I told him everything looked stable based on our last appointment, that your Parkinson's was early stage and manageable. I've never had hallucinations. I'm not paranoid or aggressive. I know that now." But Marcus seemed very insistent. He asked about accelerated decline scenarios, about what would happen if you became unable to care for yourself. He was very interested in the legal aspects of competency and guardianship. "He wants the house," I said. It wasn't a question. "I believe he wants control of your assets." "Yes. And I believe he and Sophia are deliberately making you worse to justify taking that control. I've seen cases like this before. Elder abuse through medication tampering. It's more common than people think." "What do I do?" Dr. Holloway stood up. "First, we need to document everything. I'm going to take these pills and have them analyzed. I'm going to write a detailed report about your actual condition versus what Marcus claimed. Then we need to call the police and Adult Protective Services. This is a crime, Theo. Attempted elder abuse, possibly attempted fraud, possibly more depending on what your son's ultimate plan was. If we call the police now, they'll know something's wrong. Sophia will tell Marcus." "Then what do you suggest?" I thought about it. My engineering mind, which felt clearer now than it had in weeks, started working through the problem like it was a structural challenge. Variables, forces, load-bearing elements. "I need a few days," I said. "I need to gather evidence that will make this case airtight. Because Marcus is smart and he'll have excuses, and I need to make sure he can't talk his way out of this." Dr. Holloway looked uncertain, but she nodded slowly. "What's your plan?" "Give me the real prescriptions, the actual medication I should be taking. I'll pretend to keep taking what Sophia gives me, but I won't actually swallow them. Once my head clears, once the real medication starts working, I'll be able to think more clearly, and then I'll document everything. Record conversations, get evidence of what they're planning." "That's dangerous, Theo. If they realize you're onto them, what are they going to do? Actually poison me? No. They're trying to make me incompetent, not dead. Dead would trigger an investigation. Incompetent just requires the right paperwork. She didn't look happy about it, but she wrote me prescriptions, real ones, with instructions to fill them at a pharmacy across town, not the one Marcus and Sophia had been using. She made copies of everything for her records, and she made me promise to call her every day at noon to confirm I was safe. I took another Uber home, stopping at the distant pharmacy to fill the real prescriptions. I got back to the house at 9:15. Sophia was in the kitchen, looking worried. "Mr. Blackwood, I was so concerned. Your note said you went for a walk, but you've been gone for hours." "Got a little turned around," I said, letting my words slur slightly, leaning on the doorframe. "Couldn't remember the way home. A nice young man in a car gave me a ride." The look of satisfaction that crossed her face made my stomach turn. She actually looked pleased that I'd gotten confused and lost. "Oh dear, that's exactly what I was worried about. You really shouldn't go out alone anymore, Mr. Blackwood. Come, let me make you some breakfast. You must be exhausted." I ate the breakfast, took the morning pills she gave me, tucked them in my cheek, went to my bedroom to rest. Once the door was locked, I spit out the fake pills, took the real medication, and felt like I could finally breathe clearly for the first time in weeks. Over the next 3 days, I became an actor. I continued to pretend to decline. I shuffled more when I walked. I let my sentences trail off mid-thought. I asked Sophia the same questions multiple times. I watched her carefully document all of this in a little notebook she kept in her purse. But secretly, while she thought I was napping, I was working. I'd ordered a small recording device online with expedited shipping, 2-day delivery. When it arrived, I set it up in the living room, hidden inside a decorative box on the bookshelf, positioned to record conversations on the couch where Marcus always sat during his visits. On day 4, Marcus came for his regular visit. I sat on the couch, pretending to be confused, while Sophia made coffee in the kitchen. Marcus sat next to me, and I'd positioned myself perfectly in front of the recording device. "Dad, we need to talk about your future care," Marcus began. It was the same conversation we'd had a dozen times, but this time I let him keep going. "I'm fine," I mumbled, slurring my words a bit. "You're not fine, Dad. Sophia told me you got lost on a walk last week. You couldn't remember how to get home. And she says you're forgetting conversations, asking the same questions over and over. This is getting serious." "Just tired," I said. "It's more than tired. Dad, I've been talking to a lawyer. We need to get a durable power of attorney in place before this gets any worse. And honestly, I think we need to talk about moving you to a memory care facility. Somewhere with professional staff who can keep you safe 24/7. Sophia came in with coffee. She sat in the chair across from us, her expression professionally concerned. "How long does this usually take?" Marcus asked her, keeping his voice low, but not quite low enough. "With the dosages we're using, I'd estimate another 2 to 3 weeks before he's showing severe enough symptoms to justify immediate guardianship," Sophia replied. "Dr. Holloway already has his baseline, and the decline will look rapid but medically explainable. Early onset dementia, sometimes accompanying Parkinson's. It happens." My blood ran cold, but I kept my expression blank, confused, staring at the coffee table. "In the house?" Marcus asked. "Once you have POA, or guardianship, you can make decisions about his care and assets. Memory care facilities are expensive, Dad. We'll need to sell the house to pay for your care. But that money will last years, and you'll be somewhere safe, somewhere they can take care of you properly." I let my head nod forward, like I was falling asleep in my chair. I heard Marcus sigh. "This is harder than I thought it would be," he said quietly. "You're doing the right thing," Sophia said. "He's not going to get better. This way he'll be cared for, and you won't have to watch him deteriorate in this house all alone. It's better for everyone." "The facility I'm looking at is outside Charlotte," Marcus continued. "Far enough away that it won't be convenient for his old friends to visit. Fresh start, less confusion." They kept talking. About timing, about which facility, about how to handle the legal paperwork, about what to do with Eleanor's belongings when they cleared out the house. They talked about me like I wasn't there, like I was already gone. I recorded it all. The next morning, I called Detective James Morrison at the local police department. He was someone I'd known through Eleanor's church volunteer work. I told him I needed to report a crime, but I needed to do it somewhere private, away from my house. We met at a diner 10 miles away. I showed him everything. The fake medications, Dr. Holloway's report, the recordings, my daily notes documenting how I'd actually been feeling versus how I'd been pretending to feel. Detective Morrison's face got darker as he reviewed everything. Mr. Blackwood, this is elder abuse, fraud, possibly attempted false imprisonment depending on how far they were planning to take this. You understand your son could go to prison? I understand. And I want him to. Because he wasn't trying to put me in a care facility because he loved me or wanted me safe. He was doing it for money. He was willing to destroy my mind, my life, my dignity, all for a house and some money. And the caregiver? Sofia Ramirez? She's a co-conspirator. I want her prosecuted too. Detective Morrison made some calls. Within 2 hours, I had a team of detectives and Adult Protective Services investigators at my house. They came while Sofia was at the grocery store. They installed better recording equipment, cameras in the living room and kitchen. They wired me with a device under my shirt. And they coached me on what to say to get Marcus and Sofia to incriminate themselves clearly. That evening, Marcus came for his usual visit. The new equipment was recording everything. I sat on the couch, and I decided to push things. Marcus, I said, making my voice weak and confused. I had the strangest dream last night. I dreamed you and Sofia were talking about putting me away somewhere, about selling my house. But that was just a dream, wasn't it? Marcus went very still. He glanced at Sofia, who was standing in the kitchen doorway. Dad, we have talked about care options, remember? Because you're getting worse. You need professional help. But you said something about medicine, about dosages, about making me worse. I let my voice get agitated. Why would you make me worse, Marcus? Why would my own son want me to be worse? Dad, you're confused. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You're having paranoid thoughts. You're confused about what's real and what's not. I'm not confused. I stood up, letting real anger show now. I know what I heard. You and Sofia talking about how long it would take before I was sick enough to lock me away. You've been poisoning me, haven't you? You've been giving me the wrong medicine. Mr. Blackwood, please calm down, Sofia said, moving toward me. This is the paranoia we've been seeing. You need to take your evening medication. I'm not taking anything from you. I backed away from her. Dr. Holloway told me. She told me these aren't the right pills. You've been making me sick so Marcus can take my house. Marcus stood up and his face had gone from concerned to cold. Dad, listen to yourself. You sound insane. This is exactly why we need to get you professional help before you hurt yourself or someone else. I sound insane? You're the one who tried to drug your own father into a nursing home. That's enough, Marcus said sharply. Sofia, call Dr. Brenner. Tell him we need an emergency psychiatric evaluation. Tell him my father has become delusional and aggressive, and I'm concerned he's a danger to himself. And there it was, the plan. If I started accusing them, they'd just say I was having a psychiatric crisis, that I was delusional, that I needed to be committed for evaluation. And who would the authorities believe? The concerned son and the professional caregiver, or the elderly man with Parkinson's making wild accusations? Except this time, the authorities were listening to every word. Detective Morrison and 2 other officers came through the front door. They'd been waiting in an unmarked car down the street. Marcus Blackwood, Sofia Ramirez, you're both under arrest for conspiracy to commit elder abuse, fraud, and attempted false imprisonment. Marcus's face went white. What? This is insane. My father's having a breakdown. We've been recording everything, Mr. Blackwood. We have your conversation from 3 days ago discussing dosages and timelines. We have Dr. Holloway's medical report showing the medications you were giving your father were not prescribed and were actively harmful. We have evidence of a systematic plan to render your father incompetent in order to take control of his assets. You have the right to remain silent. Sofia tried to run. She made it to the back door before a female officer caught her. They put handcuffs on both of them. Read them their rights. Led them out to separate police cars. Marcus looked back at me one time before they put him in the car, and there was no love there, no regret, just anger that he'd been caught. I stood in my doorway, watching the red and blue lights fade down the street, and I felt 100 years old. The next few weeks were a blur of legal proceedings, statements, interviews. Dr. Holloway testified about the medications. The pharmacy testified that Marcus had been filling prescriptions under my name with forged signatures. Financial investigators found that Marcus was deeply in debt from gambling, nearly $200,000 in losses at offshore casinos, and had been counting on selling my house to pay it off. Sophia was a traveling con artist. She'd done this before, in 3 other states, targeting elderly people with chronic illnesses, working with family members to speed up inheritance processes. She took a plea deal and testified against Marcus in exchange for a lighter sentence. She got 7 years. Marcus got 15. During the trial, Marcus never once looked at me, never apologized, never showed any remorse. The prosecutor said that was common. When people decide family is worth less than money, they rarely find their way back. But here's what I learned. Standing in that courtroom, listening to my son being sentenced, I realized I'd already been grieving. The son I thought I had, the boy who used to help me fix the deck, who used to build model airplanes with me on Sunday afternoons, he'd been gone for a long time. The man who tried to drug me into oblivion was a stranger wearing my son's face. After the trial, I went through with Dr. Holloway's real treatment plan. Within a month, my symptoms improved dramatically. The tremor reduced to manageable levels. My mind cleared. I was never going to be 25 again, but I was functional, independent, myself. I sold Eleanor's Subaru and bought a new car with good safety features and automatic transmission. I joined a support group for Parkinson's patients at the community center. I started volunteering at the library, doing reading hours for kids, because Eleanor had always done that, and it felt like a way to honor her memory. And 6 months after the trial, at the support group, I met a woman named Vivian. She was 68, had lost her husband to cancer 3 years ago, had early-stage Parkinson's like me. We started having coffee after the meetings, then dinner, then weekend trips to antique shops and state parks. Vivian understood what it was like to lose your partner and then have to figure out who you were without them. She understood what it was like to have a body that was slowly betraying you. She understood what it was like to have adult children who cared more about inheritance than relationship. Her daughter had tried something similar, though not as extreme as Marcus. We didn't rush anything, but 8 months after we met, I asked her if she'd like to move into the guest room in my house. Not as a romantic thing, not yet, but as companions. 2 people who understood each other, helping each other through the hard parts. She said yes. Last week, I got a letter from Marcus. It was forwarded from the prison. I held it in my hands for a long time, looking at his handwriting on the envelope. Part of me wanted to read it. Part of me hoped it was an apology, an acknowledgement, something that would let me believe there was still some piece of my son left in there. But Vivian put her hand on my shoulder and said, "You don't have to read that, Theo. You don't owe him anything, not even your attention." She was right. I put the letter in my desk drawer, unopened. Maybe someday I'll read it. Maybe I won't. But that's my choice to make, in my own time, when I'm ready. Right now, I'm sitting on my back porch with Vivian, watching the sunset through the oak trees, drinking iced tea that neither of us poisoned, planning a trip to the mountains for next month. The house that Marcus wanted so badly is still mine, still filled with Eleanor's memory, but also now with new memories, new life, new purpose. The tremor in my right hand is mild today, barely noticeable. I reach over and take Vivian's hand, and she squeezes back, and we sit there together as the evening turns beautiful around us. I survived my son's trap, but more than that, I found my way back to living, and that, I think, is the real victory.